Hi there, folks. It's David Ostriker in sunny Karmiel. It's lovely here. It's been raining constantly until today, so it's a kindness for our recording and kindness for upcoming Shabbat. This week, by the way, we tasted the lemons. We had the first lemon this week. It was yummy. Don't want to take too many off the tree because I want them to be fresh, and they are delicious. Thick skins, and I'll get to thick skins later, but the fruit of the lemon is absolutely delicious. This week is Parsha KiTISA. KiTISA, depending on how you pronounce it. And it's most famous for the story of the golden calf. Now, I dealt with that last year, and it's a very dramatic piece. I recommend that video because there's something in there you won't see. I see that the opinions of why it was that Aaron did what he did are either he was trying to delay the building of the golden calf until Moshe returned, or because they had killed Hur, the people had killed Hur. Aaron didn't want himself to be killed because the murder of the brother of Moshe would have been a disaster for the Jewish people. Frankly, I find them both weak explanations for a man who is about to become the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. Another rabbi, very distinguished rabbi, suggested that because Aaron is a peacemaker and Moshe represented strict justice and truth, that the two of them cannot exist together. Pure truth will deny peace, and if peace is the most important thing, truth will be damaged, and so you need a good partnership for it. I agree with all of that. But I don't see that that explains why Aaron is given leeway to build an idol. Now, I have a completely different explanation for this, and I am out on a limb, I admit that. But I think Aaron knew exactly what he was doing, and he did it in order to protect the Jewish enterprise in the desert, in the Midbar. That he understood his brother did not see the dangers around him, the cancer that was growing in the camp, and consequently Aaron was in fact an agent provocateur, which saved the entire venture in the desert, because it weeded out those who were trying to undermine Moshe's and Aaron's and Hashem's mission to bring the Jews to Sinai and eventually to have them found the land and state of Israel. But I don't want to go into too much detail on that because I talked about it last year in more detail, and you can find it on KosherTube. I want to talk about something quite strange this year. Let me tell a little story. There was once a Jew in Chicago during the height of the Stalinist era, and his Rav came to him and said, I heard that you're going to make a business deal in Moscow. Would you take with you a number of sets of tefillin, phylacteries, the boxes we put on our arm and on our head? Because there are Jews in Russia that are desperate for these things, but they can't get them. The Jew, who was not a particularly religious Jew, said, yeah, of course I will. And the Rav said, before you make this decision, you should know if Soviet customs or the KGB become aware of what's in your suitcase, it will for sure ruin your business trip. It could land you in jail, right? And you're taking a big risk. And the guy from Chicago said, look, I walk down alleyways in Chicago. I can handle a big risk. And so it was that he set off on his journey to Moscow. He made his business deal. He met with this underground community that wanted the tefillin, turned it over to them. They gave him a lot of blessings and thank yous. And he returned home safely. No damage, no danger. He reported back to the rabbi. I'm happy to tell you, I turned over the tefillin, and everything went very smoothly. So the rabbi says to him, and this is a true story, it's not a joke. So the rabbi says to him, you know, what you did was an absolutely wonderful thing. And in the merit of having done this, would you consider starting to put on tefillin each morning, you know, when we say Shema? And the guy looked at him and said, hey, look, Rabbi, when the United States outlaws putting on tefillin, I'll be the first one to do it. But not now. So why do I tell you this story? This parsha begins when God realizes what's going on. He tells Moshe. He says to Moshe, I've seen these people, the Lord said to Moshe. This is Exodus 32:9. I've seen the people, the Lord said to Moshe, and they are a stiff-necked people. Now leave me alone so that my anger may burn against them, and I may destroy them, and then I will make a great nation from you. Why? Because they're a stiff-necked people. Now, after the process is completed and Moshe breaks the tablets, and now he's going to go back and try and redeem the Jewish people. Moshe is the great, maybe the greatest, along with Abraham, advocate for the Jewish people. Later on, there was Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev. And it says that Moshe hurried, this is from, 2 chapters later, 34:8 and 9. It says, Moshe hurried and knelt to the ground and bowed, and he said, if I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, may my Lord go among us, because it is a stiff-necked people, and forgive our wickedness and our sin, and take us as your inheritance. And we know the end of the story. In the end, God has Moshe take a second set of luchos, of tablets, down the mountain, and that was on Yom Kippur, and the Jews are redeemed. It's an interesting term, stiff-necked. What does it mean? Stubborn, obstinate. Literally, if your spine is stiff, if your neck is stiff, you're not good at bowing. You know, the previous President Barack Obama bowed to the king of Saudi Arabia. Now, it was protocol, and people do these things, but I think Jews found it incredibly inappropriate. And it may be because we are stiff-necked. We're not good at bowing. Mordechai would not bow to Haman, and that was the cause of great trouble. Our history is a history of not bowing, of not giving in, of being stiff-necked. And I would argue that in Abraham, we saw stiff-neckedness at its outset. That Abraham was an advocate for the Jewish people, that is to say, his own and his own family. But he was determined against all odds to stay with what he understood was truth. He would not back away from truth. Right? He had his life on the line. He went through the furnace. Right? He threatened he told truth to power, so to speak. And it was a very risky business in those days. And he is the seed from which our tree grows. And I would argue that God chose the Jewish people for their obstinacy, for their stubbornness, in fact, for their stiff-neckedness, so to speak. And so when he is angry, when Hashem seems angry, what's his anger? His anger is at a quality that was the focus of why he chose us. It wasn't because of our brilliance, our cleverness, our ability in show business, media, journals, whatever, lawyers, doctors. It wasn't for any of those things. I would argue he chose us for our stiff-neckedness, for our obstinance. And we look at 2,000 years of history and all that has come and gone, and we understand we are stiff-necked in our pursuit of the mission that God gave us. And so it was with Isaac, and so it was with Yaakov, and so it was with Joseph, and so it was with Moshe, and so it was with David, and so it was with the founders of the state of Israel. And so it is now with the people of the state of Israel. They're a wonderful, loving, warm people. But are they stiff-necked? Are they obstinate? Are they stubborn? We're in the middle of an election right now, and I can tell you the answer to that is yes, yes, and yes. I love them. I'm glad to be one of them. I want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos, and know that the second set of Luchos is permanent and it's coming to us again. Shabbat Shalom.